Good afternoon, sir. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
Jimmy Lee Manganelli, 10.
Thank you, Mr. Manganelli. Sir, you're here on a Superior Court new case. I find probable cause for the allegations, one count of possession or use of narcotic drugs and one count of possession or use of dangerous drugs. Those are both Class 4 felonies, also one count of possession or use of drug paraphernalia, which is a Class 6 felony. I've appointed you an attorney. You have a status conference July 26th, 8:31 a.m., and a preliminary hearing July 30th, 8:31 a.m. Mr. Manganelli, you were on felony release at the time you were arrested. On these new felonies, by law, that means you are non-bondable at this time. So you will have an evidentiary hearing July 29th at 1:30 p.m. The judge at that time will determine whether you're bondable and what your bond and release conditions will be. Sir, do you have any questions?
No.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Manganelli. Orlando Bergay and then Rosemary Sepulveda will be on deck.
Orlando Begay, 1.
Thank you, Mr. Begay. Mr. Begay, you are here on a Superior Court new case. I find probable cause for the allegations of one count of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon or dangerous instrument. That's a Class 4 felony. One count of possession or use of narcotic drugs, a Class 4 felony. I've appointed you an attorney. You have a status conference July 26th, 8:31 a.m., preliminary hearing July 30th, 8:31 a.m. That's at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. Mr. Begay, I am setting bond in the amount of $50,000 in your case. It is a secured appearance bond, so you can pay that directly or work with a bail bonding company. They generally require 10% plus collateral, which would be $5,000. If you pay your bond, you will be released. You're then promising to go to court on all of your court dates. You'll see pretrial services for supervision and an electronic ankle monitor. You also must comply with the standard conditions and restrictions of release. In addition, you're not to return to the scene of the alleged crime. You're not to initiate contact with any alleged victims, complainants, or witnesses, or have any physical contact with any alleged victims, and you are not to possess any weapons. Mr. Begay, do you have any questions?
No.
All right. Thank you, sir. Rosemary Sepulveda and then Agide Bahati will be on deck. And so I'm going to edit this one slightly. Just one moment, please, ma'am. Good afternoon, ma'am. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
Rosemary Martinez Sepulveda.
Thank you, Ms. Sepulveda. You're here on a Superior Court new case. I find probable cause for the allegations of one count of attempted arson of property, a Class 4 felony, one count of assault, a Class 1 misdemeanor. I've appointed you an attorney. You have a status conference July 26th, 8:31 a.m. We're in a preliminary hearing on July 30th at 8:31 a.m. That's at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. Ms. Sepulveda, I am setting bond in the amount of $2,500. It is secured appearance, meaning you can pay that directly or work with a bail bonding company. They generally require 10% plus collateral. That would be $250. If you pay that bond, oh, just a moment, it's still showing $10,000, sorry. All right, so I edited it again, sorry about that. So if you pay the bond, you'll be released. You're then promising to go to court on all of your court dates. You'll see pretrial services for supervision, and you will have an electronic ankle monitor installed. You also must comply with the standard conditions and restrictions of release. In addition, you're not to return to the scene of the alleged crime. You're not to initiate contact with any alleged victims, complainants, or witnesses, or have any physical contact with any alleged victims. You're not to possess any weapons. You must obey the terms of any order of protection or injunction against harassment that has been issued or which may be issued, and you must submit to DNA testing at the arresting police department. Ms. Sepulveda, do you have any questions?
Who can I speak with to try to get the bond lowered or something, because the situation was completely reversed on me. My boyfriend called. We were on the freeway, and he had been drinking, and my daughter was in the car, and I asked him to pull over, and he hit my cigarette out of my mouth, pulled over at a hotel, and then called the police on me, saying that I tried to start our car on fire. So I'm really confused with how this all turned around on me.
Okay. And so, Ms. Sepulveda, the question for me is just whether there's probable cause based on what the police have written, whether you can be charged with these. So I do find probable cause. There was witness who did corroborate the story of your boyfriend. And so you are innocent unless proven guilty. I've appointed you an attorney. You can speak with your attorney about requesting modification to this. Your next court date is July 26th.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Agide Bahati and then Jolene Montez will be on deck. Oh, behind the... Good afternoon, sir. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
I'm Body. I'm Body.
Your date of birth?
Maybe.
Thank you, Mr. Bahati. Sir, you're here on a Superior Court new case. I find probable cause for the allegations: 1 count of aggravated assault of an officer, a Class 5 felony, 1 count of threatening or intimidating, a Class 1 misdemeanor. I've appointed you an attorney. You have a status conference July 26th, 8:31 a.m., and a preliminary hearing July 30th, 8:31 a.m. That's at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. Mr. Bahati, I have set bond in the amount of $2,500. It is a secured appearance bond, so you can pay that directly or work with a bail bonding company. They generally require 10% plus collateral. That would be $250. If you pay your bond, you'll be released. You're then promising to go to court on all of your court dates. You will also see pretrial services for supervision, and you must comply with the standard conditions and restrictions of release. In addition, you're not to possess any weapons. You must submit to DNA and fingerprinting at the arresting police departments as well. Mr. Bahati, do you have any questions?
No.
All right. Thank you, sir. Jolene Montez and then Jonathan Arispe will be on deck. Good afternoon, ma'am. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
Jolene Montez, 7.
Thank you, Ms. Montez. Ms. Montez, you're here on a Superior Court new case. I find probable cause for the allegations: 1 count of aggravated assault of an officer, it's a Class 6 felony, 1 count of assault, a Class 1 misdemeanor, and 1 count of obstruction of justice, refusing to provide your true name, that's a Class 2 misdemeanor. I've appointed you an attorney. You have a status conference July 26th, 8:31 a.m. at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. Preliminary hearing July 30th at 8:31 a.m. Ms. Montez, I am setting bond in the amount of $2,500. That is a secured appearance bond, meaning that you can pay that directly or work with a bail bonding company. They generally require 10% plus collateral, so 10% of $2,500 would be $250. If you pay your bond, you will be released. You're then promising to go to court on all of your court dates and to comply with pretrial services supervision. You also must comply with the standard conditions and restrictions of release. In addition, you're not to return to the scene of the alleged crime. You're not to initiate contact with any alleged victims, complainants, or witnesses, or have any physical contact with any alleged victims. You are not to possess any weapons. You must find an alternative residence, provide proof of the same to the court, and you must obey the terms of any order of protection or injunction against harassment that has been issued or which may be issued. You must submit to DNA testing at the arresting police department as well. Please be aware you can have no contact with the alleged victim for any reason, even if they contact you first. You also may not reside at the same location as an alleged victim, even if you are an owner or renter of the residence. You are entitled to 1 civil standby. This is where you contact the local law enforcement, schedule time to meet an officer who will escort you to the residence so you can obtain your essential belongings. Ms. Montez, do you have any questions?
Your Honor, I would just like to deeply apologize for my behavior. I am a combat veteran, and I do have history of PTSD and military sexual trauma. In that moment, I was in a state of fight or flight. I do utilize alcohol to cope with my PTSD, and I am willing to go to any alcohol classes. I will go back to AA. I've been sober before. I'm just asking for your grace.
Well, let's see. So I don't see any prior criminal history here.
This is the first time ever.
I'll tell you what, Ms. Montez. I will release you on supervised release. So that means you'll be leaving here in about 4 hours to 6 hours from now. Okay, so you'll be given information about how to comply with that supervision. Your status conference then is going to be August 5th at 8:31 a.m. Preliminary hearings August 8th, 8:31 a.m. You do still need to comply with those same conditions and restrictions of release. Another judge can modify those at a later date. So that certainly is a possibility. And then I encourage you to, do what you need to do to get the sobriety. I can't imagine what you've been through, but to work on that as well so you don't have to find yourself back here.
Thank you, sir. It is easier for my wife to go to her family's house. I don't have any, my friends or have kids and husbands. Would that be she could leave?
Well, so it could be that way, but that's another judge that will have to decide that.
Okay.
So in other words, if she says, look, I'm ready to move, she decides she's going to move out, and then you can let your attorney know and file a request with the judge so that you can be able to return back to the
Okay. And how long is that?
Well, so your first court date is August 5th. I will say, there's a possibility that the prosecutor's office won't file charges. They may file charges. I don't know for sure. But so if charges are filed, then you're going to have court on August 5th.
Okay.
So you can check with the court. And if charges aren't filed, by the way, this case goes away, at least for now. They can be filed later. But if they're not filed, I believe it's within, I can't remember, 48 hours or 4 days. If they're not filed, then this case goes away, and then all of my release conditions go away as well.
Okay, so when I do get to be released today in 6 hours, the police are going to escort me to my house?
Well, you have to make a request. You contact the local law enforcement. You schedule a time to meet an officer, wait for an officer to arrive. Sometimes they do arrive late, but wait for the officer to arrive, and then the officer will escort you there so you can obtain your essential belongings. If there's a friend or family member who can pick up your belongings and bring them to you, that may be the simpler thing to do. Okay,
so when I leave here, I'd call an officer to escort me home, or to get my things so I can...
Correct. An officer's not going to drive you home. It's more that an officer will meet you at your residence.
Okay.
So that you can obtain your essential belongings. And by essential belongings, it's like a wallet, some toiletries, maybe a quick change of clothes. It's not moving everything out.
Okay.
Okay.
So if I'm probably going to have to get a hotel or something. So I can do that, right?
Absolutely, you can do that. Yes.
And that's for how many days?
Well,
sorry.
No, that's okay. It's okay, Ms. Montez. So August 5th is your first court date.
Right. Okay.
Right? And at this point, plan on it being your first court date. But there is a chance that the prosecutor's office isn't going to file charges in the next 48 hours.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So you can, there's a phone number on your paperwork. You can check with the court, see if your case is still going forward.
Okay.
So unless you know for sure that it's not, plan to be there on the 5th. Unless you know the case is not going forward right now because the prosecutor's office did not bring charges, then you need to comply with these conditions and restrictions of release. So it's sort of a better safe than sorry. Unless you absolutely know otherwise, you need to comply with the conditions and restrictions and be to court on the 5th.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for...
You're welcome. Hopefully I'm not overcomplicating it for you.
Okay. I understand.
Okay. Like I said, there will be a phone number in there so you can contact the court.
Okay.
All right. Ms. Montez, do you have any other questions?
I don't think so.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Montez. Good luck to you. All right. Jonathan Arispe and then Donovan Evans will be on deck.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Could
Good
you please
afternoon.
state your name and provide your date of birth?
Jonathan Richard Arispe, January.
Thank you, Mr. Arispe. Mr. Arispe, you're here on 2 Superior Court failure to appear warrants. I've appointed you an attorney. You have a hearing July 29th, 8:30 a.m. at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse.
What day you saying, sir? I'm sorry?
At July 29th.
Yes, sir. That was what they gave me.
All right. You have the standard conditions and bond is in the amount of $500 in each of these. It's a total of $1,000. It's secured appearance, meaning you can pay that directly or work with a bail bonding company. They generally require 10% plus collateral, which would be $100. You pay that bond, you're promising to be to court on all of your court dates, and you're promising to comply with the standard conditions and restrictions of release. Thus, you're not to possess any weapons or not to possess or consume any alcohol, and you must contact your probation officer within 72 hours of release. Mr. Arispe, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do, sir. First, like I said, I would just like to apologize for not appearing to court, sir. My probation officer knows, and so does my public defender. They know that I was in detox at the moment of time. It's due to the fact that I have PTSD, and I take a lot of control meds. I take benzos and all kinds of other things. I hear voices, and I would hear my kids crying and yelling for me, telling me that they needed help. So it was hard for me to get up off of the streets. And finally, eventually, I got up off of the streets and I went to detox. And they knew about it. I called my lawyer, asked my lawyer if he could put in a motion, but he said he was a probation lawyer. He wasn't able to get do it because it was only in a matter of a couple of days. It was short timing. So when I got out of detox, before I got out of detox, I called my probation officer. I allowed him to know that. He checked on the warrant, and he said, yes, that there was a warrant that was active. I told him, so what did he want me to do, if I turn myself in, or he wanted me to wait? He said, no, when you get out of detox, go to open court. I said, fine, I would do so. So when I got out of detox, sir, I went to open court down here on 2nd Street in Jefferson, 200 in Jefferson Street, 2nd floor. There is no more open court anymore. So they tell you have to call your lawyer. I called my lawyer, sir, and I did that. My lawyer put in the motion to get the warrant quashed on the 29th, and he put in a motion for me to get a new court date. And I got the court date, which is the 29th at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I asked him, I said, so what is it, the warrant, is it picked up, or, I mean, is it lifted, is it not lifted? He said, no, it's not lifted. He said, you have to see the judge initially to get it lifted. I told him, but I went down there to see open court, and he said, there's not open court anymore. He said, well, you have the motion's already in there. He's like, if you do end up getting picked up, allow the judge that picks you up to know that the motion has already been filed, and it's in there on the 29th, you do get your warrant quashed. But see, the thing is, though, is that on the 24th, I can't finally go to the Phoenix Rescue Mission. It's going to be a 6-month blackout. It's a rehab that I'm going to. I need to go there, and I have to go there because I have been dealing with these demons for so long. I went and talked to Eric, and I talked to Robert, and they accepted me, and I do my assessment on the 24th. I shall get accepted after court, or before court.
So, Mr. Arispe, yeah, just one moment.
And
Mr. Arispe, just a moment.
Yes, sir.
So I do see that a motion to quash has been filed.
Yes, sir.
I had not seen that before.
I'm sorry.
The only concern I have, though, is you're saying you're supposed to go on the 24th, and it's a blackout, meaning...
Yeah, but they know about the court date already. That's the only thing.
Are they going to transport you?
Yes, sir. They're going to transport me to
Okay.
court, and the thing is, the blackout means that there's no phone, no cigarettes, there's no nothing. And they see I'm on site control meds, so they're going to take me off of that.
Okay, all right, so Mr. Arispe...
I got no money for
All
bond.
right, here's what I'm going to do then.
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm going to switch this to unsecured bonds. That means you don't have to pay anything. You're going to be released today. 4 hours before session. I do see the motion to quash. I've made a note of that in here. As long as you go to court on July 29th,
Yes, sir.
the bonds will be erased and you don't have to pay them.
I'm
So
there.
you only have to pay them if you don't go to court,
Yes, sir.
okay?
Yes,
You'll
sir.
be able to be released today, again, about 4 to 6 hours.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. I
You're welcome.
appreciate you.
Thank you, Mr. Arispe. Good luck to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Have a great